back in the day, I used to do some corporate shows. But I would give the money to charity because I just thought if I don't do it,
Take the money.
someone else will take the money and build a conservatory with it. So I would do the odd thing. I thought, well, should I be doing this? I did one for a privatized water company in London. You could probably guess which one. But like, they are the worst people. I mean, the people who ended up owning those industries and supervising those industries are like demons, And I think sometimes maybe we don't have a culture that reflects that enough, or these people operate in the shadows so much. But when you meet them face to face, I mean, they're kind of shocking. They're purely interested in money.
You know what I find even more shocking? Because I have done these events. For some reason, bankers invite me to talk to them and to abuse them. They're a bit masochistic. They love it. And I go. And I say the same things I say to you, I say to them. And they applaud me. And that's when I panic. When they like what I say to them. And some of them say, you know what, I was a leftist too. You're right. I've sold my soul to the devil. What can I do? I have a huge mortgage. I have 3 kids that go to private school. I need to do this. But you're right. We're destroying the world. That makes me panic even more.
Yeah.
I like them to be satanic.
Yeah.
When they start being nice and saying good things and being self-critical, that's when then I lose it.
The banality of evil.
The banality of evil.
Has any nation state in the world successfully resisted the bankers and the bond markets? I often think fondly of Iceland. Didn't they throw a few in jail?
Iceland did. They effectively imprisoned them, which is a really very good thing. And allow me to share a story from ancient Greece, which my father taught me. I didn't know that until he said, no, I checked it, it's correct. In ancient Athens, almost every position was filled through a lottery. This is where the jury system comes from, including the judges. Not the jury, the judges. They were chosen by lot. There were only 2 positions that were not chosen through sortition, through lots. The general, who had to know something about war, understandable. And the banker, the treasurer of the city of Athens, who always had to be a slave. Why? Because a free citizen could not be beaten up. So they needed to have a slave in the position of central banker, so that he knows that he will be beaten up if he misappropriates the money. I think we should reintroduce slavery for the bankers.
When our young people face and fear the rise of fascism, how do we help them draw the line between rebellion, resistance, and violence? This is Kim. This is a question that comes up more and more lately. Does violence have a role in our future? Does violence have a role in the resistance of fascism?
No, I don't think it. I mean, look, if we reach the stage of 1936, the Spanish Civil War, and the fascists organize an army and they try to take over a democratically elected government, yes, you take weapons and you fight. Hopefully you win, unlike the international brigades that lost against Franco. But in our societies, until and unless they form an actual army, I don't believe that there is room for violence. Why? Because it doesn't work very well. There's the normative thing, the normative question, do we have the moral right to use violence? I will set this aside for a moment, because it's not even pertinent, simply because it's not efficient. Violence is not efficient. You see, I don't think we should leave anyone behind, including the fascists. When you look at the people who went to Trafalgar Square, responding to Tommy Robinson's call, how many? 150,000 people were there? Now, how many of them were truly fascist? 10,000. 140,000 of them had their own issues. Some of them were convinced that, you know, the Romanian man who lives next door is a threat to his culture, to whatever. Others thought they are genuinely uniting the kingdom, and so on. Now, you don't want to leave them in the clasps of the true fascists. You want to argue with them. You want to convince them. You want to win them back. If you go there and you throw things at them and you stab them and you hit them over the head with a blunt instrument, you're not going to win them back. That simply entrenches them as fascists.
There is the thing Hitler said recently.
A counter-demonstration, yes.
Yeah.
A counter-demonstration. But it has to utilize humor. It has, not anger. You cannot defeat anger with anger. You have to defeat it with a resolute stance, one that employs humor, and one which makes them feel unsafe in their own thinking.
There was a thing Hitler said about if people had fought us in the streets in the late 20s and early 30s or whatever, that we would never have been able to take power. But I don't know that Hitler's ever a great source of advice.
Well, if you're referring to the Oswald Mosley fascists who went on the rampage in the 1930s, was it?
Yeah.
In London, and the Metropolitan Police sided with the fascists.
Yeah,
and then you had the trade unions of the Jews and the leftists resisting them. I'm all in favor of that. Because this was a war. It was a war. It wasn't a demonstration. You don't attack the fascists who are demonstrating. I personally respect even their right to express themselves. I don't respect what they're saying, but I do genuinely believe that, you know, for instance, I always disagreed with what Germany does, which is to ban Nazi literature, to ban Mein Kampf. I think that Mein Kampf should be read because it's a crazy text. You know, if you ban Hitler's Mein Kampf, effectively you elevate it onto the pantheon of interesting texts. No, everybody should read it. It should be compulsory reading in every school to see what a madman this guy was.
Otherwise it becomes a fetish, and Germans don't need more fetishes. Among the many ills that are affecting society, you haven't mentioned climate change. Well, we've not got that long. Where does that fit into the plan that we need? Climate breakdown.
Well, look, I didn't mention it, but I implied it when I was saying, in answering the question about what kind of budget I would introduce. I talked about 100 billion, most of which should go into the green transition, because you know, the damage we have already done to this planet is gigantic. And I very much fear that we are past the point of no return in terms of, I'm not sure that even if we had an epiphany as a species, and from tomorrow morning we did everything we could in order to degrow the parts of the economy that require degrowth, if we were to stop burning fossil fuels, I'm not sure the planet would recover. I hope it will. But it doesn't matter. You know, it does matter, but I think that it is essential that even if we are past the point of no return, that we have a duty, even just to save our souls, to make that transition. Because this planet is absolutely remarkable. You know, think about it. It was designed by nature. I'm not a theist. It's an accident of evolution that we can live on it. We can live nowhere else. Everything outside our stratosphere was designed to kill us. And you know, Elon Musk is quite happy to destroy what we have in order to go to Mars. So, you know, we need to fight that self-defeating, fascistic attitude, not only to humans, but also to nature.
This is quite a specific question about Palestine, but we could talk about it more generally as well. from Nahid. What's your analysis on the reaction of the Middle Eastern states to Trump's plans for Palestine? They've not raised their heads through most of the oppression.
Well, the Arab states and the Middle Eastern states are the greatest source of sorrow for anyone who mourns over the Palestinian genocide, the ethnic cleansing that started in 1948. The Palestinian people have been absolutely abandoned by the dictators who are running the show in Egypt, in Jordan, in the United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, and so on, in Morocco, in Tunisia, everywhere. It is heart-wrenching to see that abandonment. Now, the manner in which the Arab Spring failed after having, lit up a fuse of hope across the world, and especially the Arab world, is yet another failed revolution for progressives, is yet another grave disappointment. But allow me to say that this Gaza plan is a Netanyahu/Trump plan. It's not Trump-Netanyahu, it's Netanyahu's plan that Trump has endorsed. It was dictated by Netanyahu, and it was adopted by Trump. And essentially, what it says is this, that Trump personally, not as the President of the United States, but as a human, or a poor excuse for a human person, will annex Gaza. Gaza will belong to Trump. Have you noticed that? This is not something that it's not like the British Empire once upon a time with Egypt, with Palestine. It declared it a protector. No, it's going to be annexed by Trump personally, and he will be the chairman of the board of a company with Tony Blair as the CEO. Okay? Because, as I said before, he has the credentials for completing the genocide. He knows how to do it. He's done it before. He's been responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of people. So together they will do that. The lackeys from the dictatorships of the Arab states that are totally in the pocket of the United States will participate only in name, effectively lending this new regime, this annexation by Trump, legitimacy. The people of Palestine, by design and unequivocally, nobody's hiding that, will have zero political and human rights and civil liberties, zero. They have no say in what's going to happen. The only concession by Netanyahu, who wrote this plan, is that they will not necessarily be expelled. But at the same time, they will have no say in who comes into Gaza, into where in Gaza they are going to be shoved when Trump and Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, will be rebuilding and creating their Riviera on the Mediterranean. Simultaneously, the United Nations is annulled. It's not there. It's a service sector. The United Nations will be allowed to take food in there, but the United Nations has no opinion about any of this. And essentially, we are dismantling the International Court of Justice, which on the 19th of June, 2024, issued an order to Israel to vacate Gaza, vacate East Jerusalem, and vacate the West Bank. That's international law. So this plan dismantles the International Court of Justice. And you've got weasels like Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron, who only a week ago recognized the state of Palestine, falling over each other to lick Trump's boots and say, oh, yes, Daddy, well done, that's a great idea. Even though that great idea is the end, the definite end, if it's implemented, of the Palestinian state that Keir Starmer only recognized last week. Mm-hmm. So these people have no compunction, people like Keir Starmer, like Emmanuel Macron, like, Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, or Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, they are perfectly prepared to humiliate themselves in front of the Donald with the orange hair, right? To complete the genocide on behalf of Netanyahu, and to turn around and expect us, their voters, to congratulate them for ending the genocide. When they are ending the genocide, because essentially what they are doing is they are completing it.
Yeah. Were you alarmed by the kind of cultural silence on Gaza? Because to me it was surprising. I thought there would just be a lot more people speaking out from early on, and a lot more cultural pushback, and I guess also political pushback and political division around it, but it was so quiet. I found it really depressing.
Me too.
I did
Me too.
I did a TV show that was like a live TV show in Britain called The Last Leg, and I thought, well, I could go and work up some jokes about the Palestine situation. I could get on this live show, and when they can't stop me, I'll do these bits, right? But they're so alive to it. I think I got like 2 lines out, and then I was going to do this 3rd line, and you could just see their camera moving, like as you're talking, because they're going, oh fuck, what's he going to say? And it's just, you can see this thing whizzing across the studio to go
Was
to...
it the BBC?
No, this was Channel 4.
Channel 4, even Channel 4.
Yeah, even Channel 4. But like, I think the kind of cultural pressure around not mentioning it, certainly for the first year, was
Yes,
like incredible.
Absolutely. Look, some of you may know that in April of 2024, I was banned from entering Germany, even by Zoom, which is Monty Python, right? I mean, it's comedy. They banned me from entering even by Zoom. And when I asked a silly question, how can you ban me from entering by Zoom? I'm in Greece, how can you stop me from zooming into... And they had an answer. Anybody who presents what you're saying through Zoom in an event is subject to prosecution for aiding and abetting terrorism, right? So the things we've seen in the last 2 years over Palestine, they are quite astonishing. You know, my good friend Brian Eno alerted me to all this even before the 7th of October, because he was going to perform in Berlin an opera piece that he'd just written, and it was preemptively banned by the municipality of Berlin because he was not in support of the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. So, you know, then other musicians and artists and writers and so on started feeling that they were increasingly being pressured. I was pressurized. My German publisher, with whom I had a very good relationship and published all my books and was very supportive and very, you know, I mean, they were above board with me, had been. They called me and they said, look, Yanis, if you want us to be able to sell your books in Germany, you have to go softly on the Palestinian issue. And I said, I'm sorry, but the way I understood it is my relationship, the social contract between us, is that I write, I form opinions, and you publicize them. You do not tell me what opinions to form. That was the end of my relationship with my German publisher. But then you saw, once the cancel culture started unfolding and lots of people were cancelled, then it was really very, I'm not going to mention names, but there were, you know, people that you've heard of, musicians, artists and so on, who said to me, I'm totally with you, Palestine is crucial, thank you for doing what you're doing, but I have important contracts with labels, with publishers and so on, I've got family issues, I can't do this. So I'm a coward, but please forgive me.
Wow. I've not had any of those conversations. I think people just don't talk to me. But I was disappointed in some people. And I would try and, I guess, prick their conscience a bit. But people just weren't for saying stuff. It was depressing.
The good news, though, is that in the last 5 months, this has changed a lot. You saw this recently.
Yeah.
Even Keir Starmer had to recognize Palestine in words in order to arrest the hemorrhaging of support due to his support of genocide.
Yeah.
Not that it made any difference, because you saw what he did yesterday. He adopted the Trump plan, which ends all that. But nevertheless, it shows that now I feel that we can speak up a bit more freely than we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Shona Clark says, Mary Black, the ex-SNP MP, says the Scottish Greens need a BAM as a new leader. Do you agree?
I didn't get that.
A BAM is like a person of a lively social disposition.
Right.
A nutter. Like, the Scottish Greens are separate from the British Greens, and they've had Patrick Harvey. I'm a member of the Scottish Greens, I just have been for a laugh for years. And they had their co-leader was a woman who did circus skills, and she'd do like trapeze and stuff like that during the election. I thought, this is not bad, you know? She was halfway to being a BAM. But I suppose part of the question is, do we need working class leaders to connect more with working class voters, because a lot of British politics is incredibly public school and middle class?
It would be good. It would be brilliant. It would be brilliant. But the very least we need political parties that can speak and talk to and address the working class. Because over the last 30 years, they didn't. You know, over the last 30 years, if you think about it, they were progressive parties were embarrassed of the working class. They were embarrassed of their uncouthness, of their mannerisms, and they were constantly trying to win over the chattering classes in urban centers, the beautiful people, and treated, to borrow Hillary Clinton's term, the working class as deplorables. And of course, the working class abandoned them and joined the fascists and Farage. So I'm not, Karl Marx was not working class. Friedrich Engels was a capitalist. That doesn't mean that they did not contribute massively to the working class, to working class politics. So I'm not a separatist. I'm not working class personally, but I would love to be led by a working class leader or a band of leaders, and I certainly think that our progressive political movements have to start asking questions. We have to return to. Let's start by taking baby steps. The working class matters. And that is something that the center-left has jettisoned as an idea 30 years ago.
Yeah. I think there's sometimes a thing...
They keep talking about the middle class. When they want to accuse the government of something, you're damaging the middle class. What about the working class?
Yeah. Sometimes when you see people like Mick Lynch, who was the leader of the RMT union in Britain, who led some strikes here and stuff like that, they seemed like such better communicators for the British public. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It seems like if the Corbyn moment or something had been led by someone like that, or even by John McDonnell or someone like that, it just might have been able to communicate better.
Of course. John and Jeremy have been brilliant. But so was Tony Benn.
Yeah.
And he was not working class, but he could speak to the working class, because he understood that the working class was the agent of change. It was not an embarrassment.
Someone famous once said to me that Tony Benn's pipe was full of grass. And they genuinely believed that, but I don't know if that's true or not.
He didn't need it.
It seems unlikely.
Tony Benn didn't need to stuff his pipe with grass. He had it in his DNA.
John Mark, what's your opinion on Rangers FC dying in 2012? Well, as an economist, I don't know if you know the details. One of the famous clubs in Glasgow.
Here we have this thing flashing.
Time's up.
But
oh dear.
Since you called me an economist, let me. Since we are in Scotland, right? You are familiar with the fact that economics was discovered in this country by Adam Smith. So your people discovered economics. We discovered democracy. In the end, neither democracy nor economics did us any good, or were ever practiced. So we ended up together, our two peoples, giving the world the illusion that they have a vote, democracy, and austerity. So let's do something about it.
Yeah.
As Scots and Greeks.
Why not?
Take it back.
Can we do one last quick one? Because I know it's the subject of your last book. Do we still live in a democracy, or have the
We
algorithms
never lived in a democracy.
taken over?
We never lived in a democracy. We lived in an oligarchy with regular elections, where mostly we were given an opportunity to choose the member of the ruling class that fucked us over.
We got to pick a position they fucked us in.
But we can create a democracy. We can, exploit these fake democracies' weaker links and create a real democracy out of it. So let's end on a hopeful note.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, Yanis Varoufakis. Thanks for coming out, folks.